What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Max Miners Report here on the AAT Sports Network. I am your host, Adam Mack. We took a little hiatus due to work for the last few weeks, but we are back here talking about the Phillies farm system. We got a few different things we're going to discuss today. Obviously, we're going to look at the Phillies, all their minor league teams, but in just over 2 weeks, the roster is going to expand 2 spots. So we're going to look at some possible additions, players that should be on the radar for call-ups for the Phillies ahead of that September 1st deadline. We're going to take a look at some other guys that could be making their way up to the majors by the start of next season. And then we're going to look at the Phillies' top prospects and kind of answer the question, do the Phillies have a top 10 farm system? As of right now, the Phillies are, according to ESPN, ranked 21st. So we're going to answer that question. Should the Phillies be ranked in the top 10, top 20, or are they right where they belong? So we're going to just start off right now, kind of talking about some recent updates. The big move that's happened the last week, Phillies number 3 overall prospect, Justin Crawford, was promoted from low A ball Clearwater to high A ball Jersey Shore, a move that was well overdue. He's been the best player in Clearwater this season, and has now made his way up to high A ball. He's had 14 at-bats in 4 games. He's had 3 hits, 4 runs, batting .214, OBP of 353 with a slugging percentage of .214. He's had 1 RBI, struck out a few times, walked 3 times, and stolen 6 bases. So pretty decent numbers for him. When talking to some other guys down minor league baseball, they always say the jump from low A to high A is always one of the hardest moves to make. So this kind of jump he's had right now, a little slow start. We've seen it with a few other guys that have started a little bit slow in that move. It is a big adjustment. But Crawford is being moved up to high A, which was a well overdue move. And I do believe by the end of next year, he will be in Double A Reading. He has such a great bat, really strong left-handed bat, really good elite speed, pretty good defensively. But the big reason why he's one of the top prospects is because of his bat. So good move for the Phillies. Looking across Double A and Triple A, the other big move that was made, Phillies now number 6 prospect was number 3 or number 4 for a majority of the year. Griff McGarry was promoted up to Triple A and has really, really struggled since making that getting that promotion. Just the other day, he gave up 6 runs without being able to record a hit for the Iron Pigs. He's now on the developmental list for the foreseeable future. He's going to miss his start. He missed his start today on the developmental list. We'll see what he's able to do in the next series against the Rail Riders. But he did miss today's start on the developmental list. Was kind of surprised of how much he did struggle. He was a guy that I had in contention to be called up on the September 1st deadline. But obviously with this move with the developmental list, more than likely he will stay in AAA for the remainder of the year unless some crazy injuries start happening to the Phillies bullpen. But we'll get a little into But Griff McGarry, the more I see him pitch, definitely a Double A and a lot from what I've seen in Triple A. I think going forward, he's going to be a bullpen caliber guy, the guy to get you that 1 or 2 innings. I don't foresee him being a starter. The durability is just not there. We saw it a lot in Reading. He was only able to go about 4 or 5 innings most. That's usually when he would start to dip off. So with McGarry, I think if Phillies are smart, they make him into a bullpen guy, really focus on that, and really kind of hound him in to complete the back end of the bullpen. So Griff McGarry struggled since being promoted up to AAA. Hope to see some more out of him in the next few weeks. But for now, he is on the developmental list. We'll kind of keep monitoring that. I'm just looking around at the rest of the Phillies' top 30 prospects. MLB has just updated it. No change at the top 3 with Painter being number 1, McAble being number 2, Crawford being number 3. Crawford obviously was the only one of the 3 that got a promotion. Painter is now out for all of 2024 with recovering from Tommy John surgery. McAble continues to dominate, and for me is still being the best not only just the best pitcher, the best player within the Phillies farm system this year. I'm kind of surprised he didn't get called up in favor of Griff McGarry. It still could be a possible move here in the next few weeks. So keep an eye on that he could be possibly called up. I still think there's a good possibility we see him in a Phillies uniform to start next season. So kind of keep an eye on that. Coming in at number 4, Phillies first overall pick, our first round pick from the 2023 draft, Adam Miller, comes in at number 4. He started the ball off in rookie ball, is dominant as we expected him to be. Such a big bat. First at bat he had in rookie ball was a home run. So keep an eye on him. I foresee him being in rookie ball for at least the remainder of this year, probably throughout the start of next year, maybe into low A ball by the end of next year. But it's cool to see him come in at number 4. He's already cracked MLB top 100 prospects list, so keep an eye on him. He's a guy of foreseeable future. Eventually, Alec Bohm will be moved out. He could be a future replacement, so keep an eye on that. Johan Rojas is number 5. Obviously, he's up with the Phillies right now, and kind of looking with Rojas and with the Phillies outfielders, when Brandon Marsh and Christian Pache all come back from injury, I think Rojas should keep that outfield spot. He has incredible speed out in center field. His bat's really starting to kind of come together. I really do think we have an absolute diamond in the rough with him as our future long-term center fielder. Move Brandon Marsh over to left field and use Pache as more of the defensive utility guy, which is what we brought him over here in the first place for. So I hope Rojas stays up in the big leagues. I don't want him going down to AAA. I think he is the best situation for the Phillies, and I think he'd just be a waste of talent in AAA right now. McGarry is number 6. Carlos De La Cruz is number 7. Still the big bat. Looking at some of the bigger bats in the Phillies farm system right now, he is a guy that could make that move in the next foreseeable future. Number 8, Orion Kerkering, now in AA. I don't see a reason why he's not up in the majors at opening day next year. He's such good high velocity of the mound. He's dominated every level he's been at right now. There's been no real, adjustments he's had to make. I've absolutely loved him from the start. So Kerkering's number 8. But I'm going to be honest, he's going to be one of those guys I think could make the move up for the Phillies. So number 9, Simone Muzziotti, outfielder for AAA right now, has a little bit of MLB experience when the roster expanded last year. I think this year he could make the move again. And then number 10, Gabriel Rocones Jr. Was recently in the last couple weeks promoted from low A to high A. He's jumped to high A and has just been as dominant. Excuse me. He's been as dominant as he was when he was in a low A ball. So another guy to keep an eye out. But we're going to talk with the September 1st deadline just around the corner. We're going to talk about my 4 top candidates to be called up to the big leagues once that roster expands. Now, it is tough with the injuries going on right now. With Marsh, who just added for the Little League Classic today. You still have Pache, who, again, is a possible call-up. So looking at the 4 options right now, some options right now, I cannot foresee Brandon Marsh not getting a spot. So you can presume one of those 2 spots is going to go to Brandon Marsh, as well as probably more than likely Christian Pache. So then looking kind of at the Phillies, really want to focus on 4 guys that I think are in serious consideration that are in AAA or AA right now. So we're just going to start off with my number 1. He's a fan favorite, Scotty the Jet Kingery. I think he's been this whole season. He's earned that opportunity. There was reports that he was in serious consideration for the opening day roster at the start of the season. And in my opinion, he's earned that opportunity. When we look, we need a utility player. That's the key to what this situation is. He is the definition of a utility guy. He's had games at second, short, center field, left field, right field. He's played all over the field in AAA. He's been very, very good defensively. He's been a fairly consistent hitter this year. Just looking at him this year, he's a slash line of 256, 341, 424, 13 home runs, 41 RBIs, 43 walks, 22 stolen bases. He's just second on the team to Weston Wilson. So I think Scott Kingery, I think he's earned that opportunity. As much as, Rodolfo Castro has been pretty decent, I think we can improve. I think Scott Kingery is going to be that guy. Kind of moving down the list of some other options for the Phillies, I think it's going to be Drew Ellis. He's bounced kind of back and forth. He dominated in AA, came up to AAA, completely dominated, was the best guy on AA. And when he came up to Phillies, he was a pretty good utility guy. He's a third baseman. He can play a little bit outfield. He can play a little bit short. He can play a little bit second, primarily a third baseman. And with Harper not being able to play first base every single day and Alec Boehm having to play some first base, I think Drew Ellis would be a good move because it then would allow him to play third base, would allow Edmundo Sosa to be more of a utility guy. I think Drew Ellis is going to be just a more consistent at bat going forward for the Phillies. This year for Lehigh Valley, batting 228, 319, 460, 11 home runs in just 50 games. So he's been a really, really good player. He has kind of sizzled down a little bit since being optioned back down to AAA, but I think he will be a possible option going forward. The last kind of person in AAA right now, I think, is going to be Simone Muzziotti. He's been, in my opinion, one of the best players on the minor league teams. We can look at his stats, but my favorite thing, I always will hype him up about this. Excuse me, need my beer. My thing about Simone Muzziotti is he's so confident at the plate. He has so many big plays. He had a stretch of about 5 games where 3 of those games were either go-ahead or walk-off home runs. His home run plays. He's phenomenal, makes great defensive plays, has such a strong arm. Looking at the stats, you wouldn't be thrilled with him, but when you're up close and watching him play, he looks like a big leaguer. He has so many great big swings. He has so many great big defensive plays. In my opinion, right now, I think he's the top option to be called up and get an opportunity once the roster expands. It is tough since he is an outfielder. You have guys like Brandon Marsh, Christian Pache, Johan Rojas kind of right in front of him. But if they are looking for a kind of bigger bat, a guy that's going to, not shy away from the MLB talent, I think Simone Muzziotti is going to be that guy. I'm really optimistic that's what he's going to be able to do. So for me right now, Simone Muzziotti is the guy. So the 3 guys from AAA I think we need to keep an eye on: Scott Kingery, Drew Ellis, and Simone Muzziotti. 3 names you need to circle on your list right now if possible call-ups to AAA or call-up to the majors. Now, if you look at the current Phillies roster now, once you add in Marsh and once you add in Pache, more than likely some guys are going to come down. Rodolfo Castro is probably a name I'm going to have circled on that list, and Jake Cave is going to be a name. Now, once the September 1st deadline, I think Jake Cave might get the opportunity to stay. The last kind of option, Weston Wilson, he hasn't been that great. He obviously had the first home run in his first at-bat, but, he's kind of sizzled down since that. If Phillies want to keep him up there, I think that's one option. They want to get a new fresh face in there, someone that could give a better option. I think Scott Kingery or Drew Ellis is going to be the move. And if I'm Dave Dombrowski and Rob Thompson, Scott Kingery is going to be the guy. A lot of MLB experience, a guy that's very familiar with that clubhouse. Spent a lot of time with them in spring training, kind of things like that. So Scott Kingery is going to be my guy just for his versatility to play multiple positions. He's a very good batter this year. He's really good speed. Defensively has taken big strides this season at multiple positions. So I think priority number 1 is going to be Scott Kingery. But then looking kind of at this, I do anticipate the Phillies choosing, when the roster expands, to picking 1 fielder and 1 pitcher. Looking at AAA, there really isn't any pitchers that should have your name circled, especially when you have guys like Sir Anthony Dominguez coming back, Jose Alvarado coming back. My top priority, he was just recalled, is Andrew Bellotti. He's been phenomenal down in AAA this year. Still surprised he was even optioned down there to begin with. He looks like a major leaguer in a minor league game. He's been very unhittable, good control of the plate. So he's my pick. I don't see Connor Brogdon getting the call up. He's been pretty mediocre to pretty bad this season since being optioned down to AAA. I was surprised at the beginning when he was optioned down, but now looking at it, Connor Brogdon should stay down in AAA. And just kind of one last name I want to kind of talk about. I've talked a lot about him. We're going over the Phillies top prospects, but it's a move there'll be a lot of risk behind it, a lot of scratching the heads. It's not very common you see a pitcher go from AA to AAA. I want to talk about Orion Kerkering. He's been really, really solid this year. He's a back-end bullpen guy. And pretty much looking at the Phillies bullpen, they can improve. And I think we have better options down in AAA and AA. Orion Kerkering is the guy. It's a matter of time till when he gets promoted to AAA, and it's a matter of time till he's a major leaguer. Again, he's a top pick for me to make to make the opening day roster last year. That's how dominant of a bullpen guy he is. He looks like an eighth, ninth inning guy already. Strong control of the plate, really, really good speed on his fastballs and cutters. So Kerkering could be a pitcher that could get the call up sooner rather than later. Yeah, I think is the top pitching prospect right now to get the call up on September 1st. Now, obviously, there's a few other guys down in AAA. Andrew Bellotti is probably going to get the move. Jose Alvarado is going to be coming back from injury soon. But you have guys in the bullpen, Yurno Marte, Dylan Covey, who just really aren't cutting it that I think we can improve on. And at this point, Kerkering has earned an opportunity to go to AAA, and I think it's a matter of time that they can get that call up to the major league. So those are kind of the top four guys right now. There's a lot of options for the Phillies. Obviously, it's much more different. Used to roster expand by 15. Now it's only to 2, so there's a little bit more technicalities and a lot more to look at. But kind of looking at it with the Phillies in the minor leagues, we're going to answer the question, do the Phillies have a top 10 farm system in Major League Baseball? ESPN did a poll. They actually decreased. They have the 22nd best farm system in all of baseball. So to answer the question, are the Phillies a top 10 farm system? And looking at it, you obviously want to judge the individual talent, but also the overall team talent that we have. Looking at it, the Phillies have the best minor league team in baseball in the Clearwater Threshers. They still are the best team in all of baseball. And ESPN also did another study where they ranked the winning percentages of the MLB teams and all their affiliates. And the Phillies were number 3 behind Baltimore and the LA Dodgers. So Phillies and all their affiliates have been winning a lot. Currently, the Iron Pigs are the top of the International League standings for the second half. That would be cool and huge. If they were able to secure that, they would be going in the playoffs for the first time since 2018. But looking at the prospects for the Phillies, let's just, like I said, focus on the top 10. So Andrew Painter, right now, it's just such a huge question mark. Before the injury, he looks like to be a lock for the opening day roster this year. He was one of the best pitchers in all of Major League or minor league baseball. Now with the Tommy John surgery, taking a huge step back for him. Then you have guys like Mick Abel, who I think, again, is possibly the best prospect for me for the Phillies prospects right now. I'm really excited to see he looks like a future ace. I definitely see him as a guy that's going to be in our rotation for a while. Then you have a bunch of other guys, Crawford, Miller, Rojas, McGarry, Simone Muzziotti, Kerkering, Caleb Ricketts. The list can go on and on. Do I think the Phillies are the 22nd, 21st ranked farm systems in all of Major League Baseball? Absolutely not. I think that is completely disrespectful because we do have a lot of great talent in our farm system right now. However, when it comes to the top 10 farm systems, this is a little bit question mark. I think we're right on that border of cracking a top 10 or either just missing out on a top 10. But I do think the Phillies have a top 10 farm system in all of Major League Baseball. Just for the pure how much the team. There's a lot of guys down in AAA, a lot of guys down in AA that could get the call up to the Phillies anytime right now. Looking at, as we're discussing the September 1st call-ups, Phillies have a lot of options right now. A lot of options and guys that have MLB experience, guys that could step up into the MLB on day one and make an instant impact. Looking just at AAA, you have Weston Wilson, Simone Muzziotti, Drew Ellis, Scott Kingery. The list can go on of guys right there right now. And then you go down even to low A ball. You have Jordan Byers is still there. Then you go to high A, Justin Crawford, Gabriel Rocones, double A, Carlos De La Cruz. You have all these guys that you can see them start to fill in holes on the Phillies in the next 3 or 4 years. You can see like when it's time for this person to move on, we have their future replacement. So I think the Phillies are just cracking that top 10 right now. I think they have a very strong farm system right now. And as we enter the end of the season, Clearwater's already clinched their spot in the playoffs. Lehigh Valley, their schedule is going to work out. It looks very favorable for them. is bearing any injuries up in the big leagues. They can keep this core right with them down in AAA. It's going to help this team very, very much. They're on their way to the playoffs. Reading has struggled a little bit. Jersey Shore is, they set about 15 games over 500, but I think the Phillies do have a top 10 farm system. They have a lot of talent. They have a lot of guys that, they're not big name guys, but a lot of guys that we can be sleeping on right now. So keep an eye on the Phillies farm systems. But got a good crew as we go into the back half of the season. There's a lot to kind of look for. Obviously, we'll keep monitoring the September 1st call-ups. Obviously, with guys returning from injuries, some guys will be optioned down, and vice versa. So this has been another great episode of the Max Miners Report. Make sure you tune in every Sunday for this. Every Tuesday, we'll be restarting the Frankly Phil's podcast, as well as all the other great shows here on the AAT Sports Network. I'm your host, Adam Mack. You can find me on Twitter at AdamMackMLB. Make sure you like, share, subscribe to all the content creators, all the shows, the network, everything. We will see you all on Tuesday for the Frankly Phil's podcast.